Welcome to Mental Health Without Borders, the global wellness podcast with Dr. Lindsay Frey, where we dive into the complexities of mental health from a global perspective, exploring how different cultures approach wellness and what we can learn from one another. This episode is sponsored by Finding Hope Wellness Center in Tampa, Florida, where individuals, families, and couples can go to receive hope and healing for their mental health. Go to www.findinghopewellnesscenter.com to find out more. Now let's get started. In this episode, I am very excited to sit down with Monica Doyle. She is a psychodynamic therapist whose deep specialization in trauma, thanatology, which is the study of death and loss, and relational therapy brings a grounded yet expansive approach to healing. Monica works primarily with adults in Australia and Brazil through her online therapy practice, which also allows her to stay globally connected while traveling between these two places. So welcome, Monica. I have been so excited to talk with you.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. And I wanted to ask, to start us out, can you share your journey and what inspired you to become a therapist?
Of course, well, I've been flirting with therapy since my 30s. I first as a patient. I come from childhood trauma, so I realized I don't know if very early or perhaps very late, I'm not sure, that, there were some things in my life that weren't happening the way I wanted. There were some repetitions and some things that I couldn't quite grasp. And that's when I started getting interested in therapy. I never actually went to therapy to say, I need to get better at something. It was, I want to understand the puzzle that I am. And I think that's what took me to therapy, just to be interested in therapy to begin with. Um, and that's how I started my journey, because I realized that made a big change in my life. And I've been in therapy since, and until now, I do therapy weekly. I do psychoanalysis weekly. So it's something that for me is more like a routine. It's more like a thing that I bring with me every single week. So that's very important. So coming from trauma and feeling better about myself with everything that I learned, being in the shadow, I felt that I could do something, that I could. So many times, you need help in your life and you can't find that. And I've been in those places. So I didn't want other people to be in those places if I could help. And I think that's what took me to become a therapist. There is a very famous, well, there was, he passed away now, but there was a famous psychoanalyst. I think he was born in Italy, but he became big in Brazil. And there is one thing that he says that resonates with me a lot. He says that every good psychotherapist has a decent dose of psychic pain.
Hmm.
And I think it is through your experiences that you learn that you can make difference in someone else's life. And I think every time I help myself, I help someone, I help myself a little bit as well. Let's put it this way.
Hmm. Yes, I think it's really important for people to hear that helpers need help as well, and that therapy can be an ongoing process and something for self-improvement and to work things out that maybe you can't necessarily work out with other people in your day-to-day life. You just need that sounding board. So I really appreciate you sharing your story and your journey, and I can absolutely relate to it, as I found psychology when I was a teenager, but I was struggling with things at the same time as I learned about it. So it did help me understand myself better. And then because of the help that I received, similar to what you had said, that's why I wanted to go into it, to be able to help more people. And I feel like if you have that trauma background, which is so unfortunate, and I'm sorry that you had a trauma background, that you can speak into people's lives and experiences in a different way. You may not 100% know exactly what they're going through, but sometimes you can relate to the pain or the struggle, or maybe the loneliness of going through it alone sometimes. And so I think that you're probably in the best place. You said that you specialize in trauma work now.
Yes,
right?
so and that's what took me to that cave as well. Especially I work with a lot of women, that come from domestic violence, they come from abuse. I treat a lot of adult children, let's put it like that still live through the horror of their own trauma, as children. And to me, to be able to do something like that and to be in the position to actually, take someone's hand and just be with them, because most of the time, I think people just need to have their pain witnessed and validated, you know?
Mm, yeah.
So I find it, to me, it's a privilege to be able to do that.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely think it's a privilege to be a part of people's lives and to have that trust in you that you will be the right person to guide them on this journey and that you can help them with hope for their future. So I agree with you. I think it's a privilege for what we do. And I know that you had also said that you practice in both Brazil and Australia, along with living in both places. So, having worked internationally in both of these places, how does therapy or the approach differ across the countries you practiced in?
Yes, that's another big privilege. And I love to have those two such distinct cultures in ways that, like in Brazil, because Brazil is a much older country. So, it's like the culture is consolidated. There is more of the Brazilian is just that the melting pots that arrived more than 500 years ago and got together and kind of formed an identity. So I feel that in Brazil I have less surprises in the setting because people have like a homogeneous kind of way of seeing things. And the difference that I see between Brazil and Australia is that Australia is a much younger country. So the cultures that are in Australia are still very defined. There is a very strong definition of, they haven't mingled yet in a way. So you find it's a little bit more challenging in the setting because you find people from different cultures that just recently arrived in Australia. So they're still going through all that. How can I say? They're getting together. They're actually finding out who they are in their new place. So it is a different approach in the sense that um, it can be more challenging. The things that come are different um, as to how you would help someone. There are people from many different religions. Like in Brazil, for example, most people come from the Christian, Catholic religion. So there is a way of seeing things. When you are in Australia, you have clients who are Christians, you have clients who are atheists, you have clients who are Muslims, and the way you approach the help you offer them has to take that into account, you know, like putting in very simple terms, the way you handle or the way you help someone, a woman who comes to you and, for example, says she doesn't have a voice, right? When you talk about being assertive in a Western culture, it's different as to the way you would approach that with someone with a background religion that has women in a certain role or in a certain position. To them, that means something different to the westernized or with the Western society. Let's put it this way. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yes, absolutely, that there are differences. And I think one of the things that you highlight is the importance of really understanding their experience, what they're going through right now, and then what they need because of that. So finding out their background, their culture, even their faith can guide the approach and can guide the way that you're working with them, or even the questions that you ask or the direction of therapy. Is that correct?
Exactly, that sensitivity to, you don't only have a person in front of you, you have a person with with the background, with the parents and religion and their society, all that has weight on how they are going to go about their own process, and that's important that you respect that. And sometimes it can be challenging because sometimes they don't align with, sometimes I'm surprised in the setting that things are the way they are and the person thinks a certain way, but that's not my place, like I think that when you are in a clinical setting, you just get all your do's and don'ts and all your beliefs and everything, you put them on the shelf because you're there to actually, you know, take that person's views and the way they see the world. And that's what matters in that moment. To me, that's crucial, you know, full treatment and full respect for your client.
Yes, I can see that. And I'm wondering too, just with working with these 2 different cultures, within each culture, are you seeing common mental health struggles that are coming up? And so are there common struggles that people are facing in Brazil or common struggles that people are facing in Australia or to both? Does that make sense?
I think that the main struggle that I see is pretty much similar.
Mm.
I think that there is a lot of difficulty at the moment facing reality of what life is all about.
Mm.
I think there is a strong culture of let's put toxic positivity. Like people here, they go online and they see all this people posting the best moments, and they end up comparing themselves. And it's almost like they form this idealized version of themselves, and because they can't reach that, they feel frustrated. They fall into depression. Um, it's almost like the path no longer matters. They're seeing something far away from them. That's what they want. But the way to get there is no longer important. It's almost like, they want to have immediate um, satisfaction. They want to reach the best potential. And there is a lot of, as I said, toxic positivity that goes out. You can, you know, sentences, phrases that you see like, all you have to do is dream big enough and want it enough and it will be yours. Think positive all the time. It's almost like people don't have permission to suffer anymore.
Mm.
You know what I mean? It's like if you're suffering, there's something wrong with you. If you're in pain, there's something wrong with you. You snap out of it. And I think that's something that I see all the time is people coming to me extremely frustrated because their life doesn't match their ideal.
Mm.
And I see that all the time.
Mhm.
You know? And it sounds very obvious to tell someone that as human beings, we are going to go through pain. We are going to go through delusions and I'm sorry, disappointments. I say we are going to go through that, and we need to learn to feel and to know that it's okay to feel pain, to feel disappointment. And I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yes, and I'm wondering too, so is one of your approaches giving them permission? Giving them to permission to feel, giving them permission to say, "This is hard and I'm experiencing a hardship." Do you find that that's an approach you use?
Absolutely, absolutely. I give them permission to feel, to actually sit there and just be. I use a lot of mindfulness
Mm.
and just to be in the body and feel what they're feeling without any judgment at all. Just because we're human beings, and it's feelings, right? It's emotions, and people, they tend to be scared of feeling bad. It's almost like they don't have permission. They're always told to, get moving. You can't stop to actually feel negative about anything. And I tell them that it's okay to feel that you're not a superhuman, no matter how many slogans you read. Mm. They going, that you are this, you know, idealized version of yourself.
Yeah.
It's okay not to be that. It's okay to just be human.
Mhm.
Just pave the way.
Yeah, and I hope that somebody that might be experiencing that right now is listening and can be encouraged to say, "Okay." So I am normal. This is hard. And that is okay for now. It's okay that my life doesn't match up with the ideal. It's okay. What I'm doing right now is still important for me and my family and where I'm at in life. And that's a good thing. It's not a disappointment.
I think it's right. Important.
Yes. And so do you see any misconceptions about therapy or mental health in either area? Do you see any stigma that still might be attached to seeking help?
I see that there are two actually that are out there that I heard about and that I know of. One is that mental health is expensive. It's like everybody just think, oh my goodness, this I don't have the funds for that, and that's no longer true. Maybe once upon a time it was, but I think since COVID that we found out that we can do this online and people don't have to pay for the fancy offices anymore.
Mhm.
Let's put it this way. So that's a misconception. That's no longer true if he ever was. And I think that's something that has to be, you know, taken out of the book, that it's expensive. And then you also take care of your health, you take care of your car has an insurance, like to take care of everything in your life and not and why not take care of your mental health? I think that's, as I said, I am a therapist and I do therapy. So to me that's extremely important. And the other thing is that some people believe that therapy only works in person. And I don't think that's true at all. Um, in a way, for me, it works much better when I'm in my place and I'm feeling comfortable and I'm in my zone of comfort. And I can come from that place and actually, feel relaxed in my own session, because I'm home. So there is this misconception that online therapy perhaps doesn't work as well as an in-person therapy. And I challenge that. I really challenge.
So yeah, the access has been very helpful for people that may not even want to go into a physical building or can't go into a physical building. But then also there's access to therapy that can be cost effective. And so sometimes people might just need to do their research a little bit and see what might work for them to be able to get that help. I fully agree with you about I say a lot of times that we tune up a lot of things in our life. We we tune up our cars, our even our physical bodies, right? It's very good for us to go to the doctor and check in. It's very good for us to go to the dentist and check in. But for our mental health, somehow that's not presented always as a positive thing. So I absolutely encourage people to check in with their mental health and just see how they're doing, if there's something they can learn, because I do think it's endless. I think there are so many things that we can learn and apply to our life to just help us move forward in a happier, healthier way. And so mental health, I'm seeing it gain more attention, even though I know there are still stigmas that are attached to it, but I also seeing it gain more global attention. What do you think is driving this? And are you seeing the same thing?
Yes, I see it happening, and I think it's because the people with influence, and artists these days, everybody's coming out talking about the mental health journey, and that's one of the things that social media is good for, right? Is I was watching a show the other day, this big band, right? Imagine Dragons, and the vocalist was actually talking about his journey with depression and how therapy was important to him. And I think it's just that openness of people actually talking about it, people with influence talking about it. It's actually getting people interested and actually going, okay, it's okay to do therapy. Like that everybody's doing it. It's a bit of a trend, right?
It is a bit of a trend at times. That is sure.
But it became a bit of a trend, which is a great thing, you know. Just you think about society at the moment, everything moves so fast, and there is a sense of not having control because it's almost like we're pausing someone else's game, you know. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty, and people need help navigating that uncertainty. And I think therapy it's becoming more. It's becoming more. How can I say? people are doing it more because of that as well, so then they don't go through life just feeling like they have no control or no one to talk to or no one to listen to how they feel in the world we have these days. So I think that's a part of it. But yes, it's not a bad thing at all.
No, and I know that you said that seeking out your own therapy has been one way that you've helped yourself. You are a giver and you are somebody that helps others, and so it's really important that we maintain our own mental wellness. So how do you maintain your mental wellness outside of also going to therapy, because of being a helper and because of pouring out often?
Yes, being a therapist actually involves holding a lot of chaos.
Mm,
Other people, it's almost like, as I said, I put my stuff on the shelf and I make myself available to whatever comes to me. And at the end of the day, everything has an impact. And keeping my therapy, my weekly session, it's important to me because of that, because I can actually have my moment to actually, you know, unload in a way and just be free to talk about whatever I want to talk about. Other than that, I use a lot of mindfulness. I like having moments of meditation, just quiet time. I really like having me time, just doing my thing, just listening to music and just trying to look for a place where I can remove myself from the world, even if temporarily. It can be a walk in nature, a hot bath, anything that makes me feel, you know, um, calm and collected and connected to myself, basically. Almost like bringing the connection back to myself.
absolutely. Mindfulness, meditation. Yes, and taking a bath, getting in nature. These are all wonderful things I would recommend as well. And I'm wondering if this would be a great time to also bring in the fact that you have a fascination and a collection of tarantulas. And I wonder if there's anything about that that also is calling for you. So, can you talk about that? Because I think that that was a really interesting tidbit that we had talked about prior is your love for tarantulas.
Yes, yes, it's my girls. And yeah, some of them I had them since they were very little. Um and I think it's really fascinating. What I find fascinating about the tarantulas is that they have this they shed their whole exoskeleton every now and then. And in a way it's almost like I envy them. I think it must be to just build a whole new self after a certain amount of time and just leave all the old self behind and you just brand new and just shiny. I find that beautiful. And now, as I was telling you, before we had a chat before about the tarantulas, I even had one that had a phantom pregnancy.
Mm.
Or, You know, um, even tarantulas have the mental health.
Yes, they're ideal versus reality. Could you please tell everybody what you explained to me that happened with that? Because I think that's interesting. And please tell how many you own as well. I think that's important.
Parental?
The Teen. Okay, 13 tarantulas.
Yes. And yeah, it's quite interesting, like you said, right? Even the tarantula, she has that idea that okay, I'm gonna be a mom. She makes her eggs and everything, and I was just looking at her, I say, "Oh, you poor thing," but it's such an interesting it's a hobby that I love. I find them fascinating. I like the little things that they do. Some of them are like little mini diggers. They dig and they create the little tunnels, and it's just they're very amazing creatures. I just love them.
It has. And I also shared with you that I have owned 3 tarantulas that were all requests from my little boy. So when he was, I believe, 5 years old was the first time that he asked for a tarantula. So we owned 3 different ones at 3 different times. And I have to say that my biggest fear that I used to hold was of spiders. And through owning tarantulas, I no longer have a fear of spiders. It helped me to see that they actually were very docile, they were very calm, um, and that a lot of it was in my head and from the perceptions I had from growing up, and it helped me to cure it. So, anyways, I thought that was interesting, and I wanted to bring it up and give you space to talk about it because
Well, yes, thank you for bringing that up because I'm very proud of them. But sometimes you talk about them, it freaks people out.
I know. Do you ever have people that struggle wanting to come over because of that? Because we dealt with that at our house where they people would just not want to come because we had a tarantula in a cage up in one of the bedrooms.
Yes, I had a friend sleep over. Well, she was coming to sleep over one night, and she wasn't very comfortable with the tarantulas there. But there was one that kept walking in the middle of the night and making noises. Um, they do some funny things, you know. They try to lift the lid. That they try. You do a lick. And this friend of mine, the next day she woke up and she said, I didn't sleep all night because that thing kept making noises. And she says, I love you, but I'm not sleeping here again.
It's too much. Too much for her. So one night didn't cure her anxiety around tarantulas. Maybe next time.
What can I do?
Yes. So I want to end with what is the next for you? Do you have any big plans or any goals that you want to talk about or highlight?
Sure. Well, at the moment, I am furthering my immersion in internal family systems because it's something that I'm really interested in that I would like to use more in my practice. And I would like to write a book. I mean, it's in the very early stages, but I would like to write a book about cultural dissonance in couples relationships
Mm.
because I receive a lot of. I'm also a couples therapist, and I receive a lot of help couples from different cultures, and I see that all the time, and I find that very interesting. Trying to help these people, and I'm gathering information, and I would like to do something like that in the future. Fingers crossed if I can find the time. That would be one of my goals, goal to in the future. Hope
Okay. So diving more into, is it internal family systems? Is that what?
internal family system.
Okay.
I think it's a beautiful by Richard Schwartz, and I think it's a beautiful new approach that hopefully I will be using more in the future because I find it quite amazing. I love the whole idea behind it that you have a core self that is practically your internal therapist. Let's put it this way. That's how I see it. And I like that a lot. So yeah, definitely delving more into that and informing myself as much as I can.
Well, that sounds great. So I look forward to following you along on the journey. I hope that we stay connected. And like I said, I was so excited to talk with you today and meet you. And it's been a fascinating conversation. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you,
Yes.
everybody, for listening.
Yes. And so I want to thank everybody for joining us on Mental Health Without Borders. This has been an incredible conversation today with Monica Doyle, and I hope that you found some valuable insights to take with you. Remember, no matter where you are in the world or where you come from, your mental wellness truly matters. So be patient with yourself, take time for your well being, and never forget that seeking help is a sign of strength. Be kind to yourself, and I look forward to connecting with you next time on Mental Health Without Borders.